Hello everyone, welcome to the Make It Your Business podcast. I am today doing the intro, so I'm just going to keep you off guard there, keep everybody guessing. The reason for that is Duncan can't actually speak today. I'm joking, that wouldn't really make a very good podcast, just be a monologue from me. No, today I thought we had a couple of episodes back, Duncan was preparing for his shoot in Scotland, and I thought it'd be really good to we were going through all the preparation, working out what goes into preparing for a shoot, all of the logistics, and I thought it'd be good to recap now that's all been wrapped, see how it all went. And did you have a nice time on your shoot, Duncan?
I had an excellent time, thank you, James. Yes, it was everything I hoped it would be and more. We had a really great time. We had a few spanners in the works, which we'll get to, I'm sure, but
the weather was lovely.
The weather was uncharacteristically. I mean, it looked like sort of Cornwall at times,
or Croatia,
yeah, indeed. Especially the beach shots, and we were up in near Elgin, in deepest, darkest northern Scotland.
Yeah. So were the clients happy that it looked like that? Is there going to be some mis-selling claims going on in the future? They're going to see these videos, or all these Americans are going to turn up to this not so sunny Elgin.
Well, we did get some shots of the Highlands because that was something that was very important. But bless them, they've sort of said, well, no, you just have to come back when it's miserable, and we'll shoot some of that as well. It still looks like Scotland. Yeah. It just doesn't have the low-hanging fog and the mist and the what have you.
Well, and also big up climate change. So eventually we might be at the point where it is the new Costa del Sol.
Take that, Thunberg. Anyway, yeah.
Who says climate change is bad? We won't go into that. So, yeah, I thought it'd be really good to go in, just work out. I mean, we talked a lot on logistics and planning. So just recap a little bit what went into the shoot for those that, I doubt anybody missed that episode, but in case you did, it did slip through. What went into that? Just to give us a very brief overview of the project in itself and that initial lead up to it.
So it's a film we made for a client called MacLean Bruce. They are a company who do luxury, bespoke travel and whiskey experiences, basically. Mostly around Scotland, but they do also do stuff in in England, and they've done things in London and stuff. So it really depends what the client wants, what they want to go and experience, all that kind of thing. And so they wanted a film. I met Vicky Bruce, who's one of the founders.
Fiona's sister.
Fiona Bruce's sister, yes. No, she's married to a Bruce, so she is a Bruce, a Scottish, of Scottish royalty. So I spoke to her and I just said, they have such a fantastic brand and one that's clearly sort of got an identity, but I think all their material was kind of mostly stock or, had been cobbled together from iPhone stuff they'd done. Anyway, and I said to her, I think with the right film, you guys could really, you could just be more of an inspiration for people coming to understand your product, marketing being the context for your product or service. So we got chatting, we had a really great, she's someone I get on with very well, so that was really great. And we managed to, we came up with some ideas and da-da-da-da. Fast forward to things were kind of working out that we would go and shoot this in May. It was kind of we were thinking, hopefully the weather might be favourable then, which of course we were very fortunate with. But that's really the germ of it was actually through outreach. I had mounted a sort of cold outreach campaign on LinkedIn. She happened to be one of the people that I spoke to, but we got on. I like to think, had we met some other way, we probably would have got on just as well. So
I think we should can we just have a complete little segue there? You found the lead on LinkedIn. I think people listening to this, a lot of business owners, could you just delve into that a little bit, how that worked, how you captured a lead from LinkedIn all the way? You've obviously completed the work now, so that's a great success story in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's I had run, so I did for about 12 months. I did an outreach campaign on LinkedIn. I paid some people to really run it for me, full disclosure. But I sort of gave it a shot for a year. I got Sales Navigator, and I did all the things, and I met some really interesting people. But this is probably the only one I could say really was a success. So in monetary terms, it's probably wiped its face if I think about it. But for now anyway, we'll see what happens going forward.
So would they have direct messaged her? Is that
Yeah.
how she would have got an initial contact?
Yeah.
So people were doing it if they've got the time and they've got this and they don't want to maybe scale it that large. So that just shows that a direct message on LinkedIn can result in, you
100%.
you reach out to enough people on there. And then what happened? She just reached back and then you arranged what, face-to-face or a Zoom or something like that?
Yeah, I think she replied to that initial message, and I caught it because I was going through my messages and I looked them up and went, wow, I really want to work with them.
Yeah.
So I told the others not to reply to her, and I replied to her, direct. So I
So
took
you
it over.
homed in on it
Yeah.
and then started to arrange a conversation from then.
Yeah, and I had identified travel as a growing. I'd looked up sort of growth industries because I was trying to find markets to target, and that was one of them. So I said, let's target travel and high-end travel, that kind of thing, which yielded some good results. Some others, it was like I had messages back from people going like, well, we don't advertise what we do because we're that, hoity-toity. So fine, but yeah, anyway, that happened to be the perfect storm.
Very good.
So yeah.
Look, little win in there, little LinkedIn shout out.
There you go.
Gets its bad press as well, so might as well say when it works.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So you've done the shoot now, and it all went well. All things said. What do you think, based on keeping on the planning side? What do you think that you did within that initial setup and in the preparation that effectively made it work on the day and during the week?
I think one of my strengths as a producer anyway is that I cast well. So I'm good at, that doesn't mean necessarily on camera talent. I mean I'm good at picking the right cinematographer and the right, and I know people who will slot into something really well, and that doesn't mean I don't use the same people for different shoots, but it just means that in this case it was like I knew visually what I was going for. I knew we needed FPV drones. I knew we needed also DJI. We needed big sweeping landscapes, but we also needed, to follow cars and even go in buildings and cheat, crane shots by, all this sort of stuff. So I knew I needed a really capable drone operator. Luckily I have one. And I needed a fantastic cinematographer who, not only knows what he's doing or she's doing, but has the kit, can come as a one-man band really. And luckily, it's my friend Richard Jackson. He's an amazing cinematographer. He's made movies with me. We've made short films together. We have a YouTube channel together. Shout out Valverde Broadcasting. We work well together. And I knew, with what I wanted to capture, obviously I spoke to him, but I said, look, this is what I'm going for. And we sort of talk in cinematic terms as well. I was kind of like, look, think the end of Skyfall. So you get to be Roger Deakins and think this, and then kind of I want that sort of vibe. And of course, it's not really what worked out because it was sunny.
Yeah.
But and then we had to roll with what, in this case, the client was bringing to us. She could get access to certain things like McAllen, so we went to the McAllen estate, and they allowed us quite unusually to film all around their estate in their distillery.
You got to taste some.
I wasn't allowed to. They gave me some.
I was going to say,
all I could
watched.
do was smell it.
Oh, I've watched the video and
Yeah,
the cinematography. Is that?
Yes, that's right.
Cinematography.
Yeah.
Sound right. That it is amazing. I
you.
mean, it looks like a proper Hollywood movie, so that's amazing. But yeah, you're going around and you don't actually see you sip it. You're smelling it.
No, I did drink some of it. So MacLean Bruce, they do have their own distillery. And they do produce whiskey themselves, and I was allowed, I drank that, but not the McAllen. No, and there was someone there's a shot of someone pulling that whiskey out of a cask and putting it into the glass. That's a 21-year-old McAllen, cask strength as well. I mean that again, not to talk too much about whiskey, but you understand why these things cost so much. I mean, you see the size of the casks. That cask was about half full, which mean, in other words, everything else had evaporated. Because that's what happened. They call it the angel
evaporates,
share, right?
doesn't it?
It evaporates over time. So that's why, a 12-year-old to a 15-year-old is quite a jump, but then like to an 18-year-old gets really expensive, and then you imagine like a 30-year-old, you've lost most of the liquid in the cask by the time you've come to bottle it. So yeah, anyway, that all that stuff went well. And also like Richard's very good at run and gun style shooting. If I say to him, look, we only get an hour in here, so we need to pick our shots off, and we started, don't get me wrong, we storyboarded it. We knew kind of what we wanted to get, but it was also based around a few things we didn't get in the end. But, I just said, look, we need to run a gun, we need to piece this together. But we're good, again, if you've got people who can think like you and go, okay, yeah, we can use these shots to get us out of.
Are there any things that you wish you had prepared more for?
If only insofar as had we more time and budget, there are other things I would have liked to have got, but that is also dependent on the client and what they're willing to pay for, really, at the end of the day. And you can, say, look, I wish we had money for extra people, but they require travel and being put up, and they don't hand their day rate, so it's tricky. But no, I mean, in terms of the execution of it and everything, actually, I'm very pleased with the job we did, because it actually came off better than I thought.
Was there any bits that actually were accidental, or any things that you didn't plan for that were by chance worked out really well?
So certain things with the drone footage, especially because we had to go out and find roads that we could shoot on. So McLaren lent us a Bentley, so we could go shoot with that.
Great.
We had, as it turned out, a hire car that they didn't shout out to Enterprise. They didn't mind us filming with, so that's fine. And they upgraded me to a Land Rover, so even better, because that meant I could shoot with that. It was things like getting out, finding good places to shoot those vehicles, and I bought a bonnet mount because I wanted to we got a really cool shot of the wheel going down a dirt track and that kind of thing, so that sort of stuff we couldn't really plan for. But I mean, again, it's that, you go on Google Maps, you look at the general area, you kind of go, right, well, I think maybe there, and then you're driving there and you're going, this would be good, and so you almost do a location scout on the fly.
I sometimes find not that I shoot movies, but across other medias or projects, that you go out with this perfect vision or this perfect storyboard narrative, but actually some of the best content that you get is in the weeds. It's actually in the chaos, and that's what materializes as being some of the most interesting and best content.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, and that's what camera is, working on camera is really all about, is finding moments, not necessarily planning them. You set the stage, and then again, it's like with acting. I mean, this is my approach anyway to these things is, you should lay the groundwork, set the stage, have a clear idea for everyone, but then you're just pointing cameras at stuff. And the way I tend to direct people on videos like this and like corporate video, I mean, this had a narrative and stuff, but it's like giving them a sense of the style, giving them but also saying, you're here because we want you to do what you do. We had Grant, our chef, who's in it. He's a Michelin star chef. He's been on MasterChef. He's done all of that. And he was amazing, and I'm a big foodie. I'm a sort of gastronaut. I love talking to people about food, and connecting with them on that. And I was just fascinated with what he was doing. So I was like, "Oh, this is amazing! Please, these are the shots we want. We want some flambeing going on." And he's got his lobster and all this kind of thing. But but outside of that, this is about celebrating kind of what you do, because we want that to come across on camera. So again, casting really, it's about saying, get the right people who are going to serve your project. All that stuff was great.
Yeah, I mean, did you have as you say, like a story theme going through it, and did you just discuss that with the client, or was that something that you kind of brought to it?
She gave me a sort of jumping off point of saying, maybe we could do a film kind of loosely about someone who kind of wakes up in the morning and then goes on a bit of an adventure. And then, and so I'd sort of, based on what she told me she had access to and other things like that, I kind of came up with an idea about that, as someone who sort of goes on this adventure and ends up, at one point he was going to end up in a lake, which I'm glad didn't happen, because I would have ended up in a lake. But And there were kind of these. We had, and she thought she could get a helicopter, so he was going to get in a helicopter and fly to this place and get in an Aston Martin and drive there. Because I did get us an Aston Martin, though that fell through on the day, which you heard all about. There's been less said about that, the better. But actually, would have been totally erroneous and probably wouldn't have made much of it, and would have just cost a fortune in terms of trailering costs, and actually didn't need it. But we came up with all these ideas, and slowly, invariably you go, actually, realistically, we don't have that, and we don't have this, and fine. And we were going to get the train that I told you about, and that didn't happen.
So there were a couple of things that didn't quite go to plan then.
Oh yeah, definitely. And one of the big ones being Charlie MacLean, who is the MacLean of MacLean Bruce. He's the whiskey expert. If you need, and you'll find him all over YouTube talking about whiskey. Fantastic man, absolutely bon vivant, like just it's someone who it's just wonderful to be in his company. But I was meeting him. The first day I was meeting him, he was coming up on the Royal Scotsman. He was doing like whiskey tastings on this train, and we were going to meet him in Keith. And we got there with half an hour to spare because we needed to get a shot of it coming into the station. And I dropped off different Grant, our drone operator, with Vicky, a point at which they could intersect the train and get a shot of it from the drone going past the drone. And I pull up and I said to Richard as I was driving in, I was like, "Is that it?" And he went, "Nah, that's some knackered old freight train." And then we drove down the side of it and it said Royal Scotsman. I was like, "That's it." We missed it. And then, of course, I caught Charlie getting off it, and I went up to shake his hand and he said, "Hello." And he has like really bad laryngitis. And I needed him to narrate the film.
Yes,
he was going to read like the poems and the... So, that was another curveball. As it turned out, I don't think it... I mean, probably by the time this is out, I'll be able to put the film, we'll put a link to the film, or I might even stick it on the end of this episode so you can watch it. But
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it works in a way. I think he kind of comes across, I think it goes in with the narrative of it. And I like that sort of story aspect. I think as a viewer, as humans, we're drawn to story, we're drawn to kind of cause and effect. And I think if you can sort of integrate that into that 2-minute montage, I think that just brings it all together with some really good music as well. I think it works really well.
Thank you. I mean, I that is one thing I said to her from the outset. I said, we are, again, you just talk about niches like we did last time. We are storytellers. We find narrative in stuff, and everyone's got a story, even if you're in the the most dry industry in the world. If you're a finance broker or whatever it is, there is a narrative. And sorry, I just said your industry was as in like, you know what I mean. I mean, it's dry.
But we attach it.
But,
we don't necessarily know. We won't care what happened, and we want to know why it mattered.
Right.
And it's about story. It's how we connect. And I think when you can sort of get any sort of subject, anything even as dry as finance, and it's just about connecting with other people. And I think obviously with something a bit more tangible here, but it's an experience that you're talking about. So it's how do you get that feeling to the audience when they see it? I want to feel like that person is there, and things like music and the landscapes and all the way in which you put it together. But that narration, going back to that, I think that kind of underpins it. And the poetry there, I think it works really well. I mean, definitely we'll put it at the end of this episode so people can obviously people viewing it can find it on YouTube.
If you're listening, you'll just get some nice music and then narration.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Yeah,
so go check it out on YouTube because it's
So I mean, I think that's it. I mean, any other funny moments other than finding out that the one person that was doing narration has laryngitis?
Oh, there were lots of great moments. I mean, there were lots of fun. We shot at McAllen. That was fun. We had an obstructive gilly on the opposite bank of the Spey. So it's a Spey side whiskey. So it's on the Spey, and they own one bank. We were going to film with their gilly, which is like a fisherman's gamekeeper kind of, so we were going to get lots of fishing stuff, and we were all set up to do that. But there were other people in the water on the other side, and you're not supposed to go in. I don't know. There's some sort of etiquette there where you're not supposed to. So the other gilly was being a bit standoffish and wouldn't let us put a drone up.
Bloody gillies!
Oh, I know. Well, but that's one of the. So Vicky sent me a thing
rules.
saying she sent me a portmanteau, one of those mock definitions saying an obstacle. You know, you can imagine what that is. So we missed that. But then, you know, there's things you as you say, you find moments in other things that can bridge gaps or take you. You know, at the moment I'm putting together all the shorts, and it's kind of like, obviously you don't want to get stuck using the same footage just rehashed. So you kind of...
Well, we spoke about B-roll, didn't we, before, and also for your own footage, the footage of the footage taking place, filming the filmers. So it's did you get much of that?
I did. I tried my best to get as much of that as I could. I got a lot of them filming the cooking, and also we went to Speyside Cooperage, which is where they make casks, basically, which is a very sort of... what's great about it is it kind of has there's lots of, you know, old tools and hammering things, and then they toast the casks so all the fire goes up in the air, and they stack them outside in these huge pyramids, which you see in the film, but and they have a cat for some reason. So I was trying to crowbar this cat into the film somehow, but and that was all very dramatic and very, you know, exciting. So. You know, it's all about that sort of imagery. And then again at MacLean, you know, we were in their warehouse where they're, you know, rolling the cask around. It's all very old and it's full of history, and, you know, and then they've got their new distillery, which was really interesting. And and then we went out into the Highlands. We went up near Dalwhinnie and shot with the drone, and, you know,
the drone shots are brilliant. I think they really create capture the atmosphere, and I think with the moving vehicles, and also that bit where you get out the vehicle and then through into the building. I like that sort of going from outside to inside, all in the one shot. Because again, I remember that episode we talked about adolescence and the one shot piece. So often we're used to seeing two different camera angles for that, aren't we? So just sort of seeing that you get out the vehicle and then it follow you in and through. It's really good.
I mean, we could have done a longer shot on that, but the problem was you can't have it in a short bit like that. Grant came over there because there's a courtyard in the house we were shooting at, and I think he went through with the car and then went up over the car, waited for me to get out, and then went into the door, so you could get the whole thing in one shot. But for social media and stuff, that's a bit long-winded. It's,
again, going a little segue here. I remember Dom Jolly recently did a comedy piece, but it was actually an advert, but it was about 5 minutes long.
Right.
It was really weird, but it was like one of his old sort of hello, now I'm in the cinema.
Trigger happy
with that one. But it was I think it was for a phone company.
Yeah.
But it was just a bit different, because again, you'd normally have a 30-second video, but if it's maybe a promo video, it might be maybe up to 90 seconds, 2 minutes long. So maybe there's a case to be had in the future of also doing extended pieces or creating a very mini story.
People do
drama.
BMW did that for a long time with their car. I remember they had stuff with Clive Owen. I mean, this is back in the early noughties. They did stuff with the M5 where he was like a driver and he drove Madonna around in the back and he was like chucking her around corners and stuff like that. And that was like mini car chases. They just shot like it as a film, you know, and for no reason other than to show the car, I guess.
I think with cars, I mean, they probably get more value out of product placement in a TV series than they do in their own adverts on standard TV. I would have thought.
Cars, watches. MacLean is a Bond brand, you know. Funnily enough, we weren't allowed to have the Aston Martin there because they have a deal with Bentley. They're a Bond brand, you know. I was a bit like, okay, fine. But yeah, I mean, you know, absolutely. There's a huge correlation there, I think. Yeah, with being the whatever of. I mean, then James Bond really started that. You know, that was the real product placement.
Yeah.
Genesis, but when
you only start noticing it when you sort of are aware of it. I bet a lot of people are just sort of watching these things completely blissfully unaware of all the product placement going on.
Definitely,
we should do some product placement.
I think we could be sponsored by
James Murray Finance.
James Murray Finance, yes, indeed.
I haven't got my shirt on today. So bringing it back round to business, what lessons have you learned, or that you can share with other business owners from that you've got from a shoot in Scotland that's lasted best part of a week?
I think that definitely it's been something where I trusted my instincts. You know, I knew the vision I had would work if we could do it. And it's one of those, when you stop and think about it type things, you're going, what am I doing? Like, I've just sold, it's really nerve wracking because I kind of conceptualized the thing. I brought these people, it was all my idea to bring these people together. I've told you we can deliver it, and so, you worry that you're actually going to deliver something they, even if you deliver what you intended to, are they going to see it? And, so it was a real case of, for me, it reaffirmed my thing of like finding the right people, whether that's delivering the service or buying the service, finding the right clients, finding that synergy is so, that's what it's about. Yeah. That's what this whole thing is about. Trying to crowbar people into buying your service who are just going to make your life hard. Yeah. You have to do a certain amount of that, I suppose, because you've got to survive. But,
so having a good network of people that you can trust and rely on.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's been times when I've had calls, like meetings with people, and, I've known this is not someone I really want as a client,
I have to get better at that sometimes because I want to help everyone, and I get inquiries, and I think this actually isn't something that is best serving my time and going to help my business grow, but I want to help. Yeah. And I think sometimes it's difficult for me to turn those people away because I want to add value, even though it's not my core business. And I know I can still help them. So I find it difficult to sort of send them away. So I think being able to sort of say no or find a new home for those sort of things is important, but equally, not work with people that aren't going to serve you, because I think if you can build up a good network over time, and especially when you're contracting out to other businesses or other expertise, I suppose once you've had some good experiences with them like this, you can endorse them, you can trust them for future projects. And I suppose as your business grows as well, you can leverage them more, knowing that you might not always be on site, or you might not be in the director role, but those people know how you do things, they know how you operate, and will effectively still produce a similar standards of work that they've done on the other projects with you.
Yeah. I mean, I love that they're part of my network now, and not only that, but that, we've done something for them that they love, and they're going to start putting out everywhere. I spoke to her yesterday. She was asking me about where she can put the video out, where I recommend putting the video out. And I said to her, well, you also do trade shows, so maybe you should play it, if you have a TV or something, you can play it on a loop. And she went, I've just invested in a new, whatever it was she called it, like they've set up a room basically, or like a space to have stands and displays, and they bought a TV to put, and she was like, I didn't know what to put on it. I'm like, okay, well, there you go. I love working with people like that, because and it's not the type of person, or it's not that, it's just someone who sees the value, is enthusiastic, isn't begrudging of you being there or costing them money. It's like they
have you got how long do you think you could make that 2-minute movie go on for without audio? Like, let's say you didn't need audio, but it was just a background, something playing in the background at a trade show.
Probably stretch it out to 5 minutes or something. I mean, you could just leave extended shots in there. And,
I'm just thinking for that sort of, might be another product that you could offer as for those sort of things, and then it's not circling around as much. And if you don't need the narration in the background or the audio, but just for visually, you could create just a visual only background sort of screensaver type product.
Well, we've been doing, certainly with the socials, I've been doing it with the Mind of It loop, because obviously on socials things loop, and putting in, they have their 5-word, so what is it, luxury whiskey travel experience Scotland, that's their kind of 5-word.
Cool. Yeah,
it's not a strap line, but
I'm glad you've remembered it.
So I've been making those kind of come up on the, and being like, really talking about that in visually, because obviously not everyone unmutes things, and there's no dialogue in it anyway, so it's kind of about representing things on screen. So that's something you could do at a trade show.
Is that sort of using all of the assets you've got and repurposing them to extract as much value as you can
100%.
from it.
I mean, this is what I encourage clients to think of as well. Is, you know, it's like in the case of them, it's like, look, we're going to go get all this stuff for you. You know, a lot of it, well, you know, like the drone footage, one could argue sort of looks like stock footage in certain areas, and the way we use it could be, but it's yours. Like, you can do with that whatever you want to. You don't have to license it. You don't look like, no one else has that footage on that day of that thing, you know, that no one has that. So it is yours. And she, you know, again, she's brilliant because she's involved in a lot of stuff.
Can she NFT this?
What do you mean?
Not with non-fungible. So
I see.
No, I have no idea about that.
She could license it. She said to me she had bought someone's stock footage once for exclusive use. But otherwise she'd just been using stock stuff, and she was like, yeah, it's always disappointing when you're on someone else's website and they've got the same shot or the same so
cool.
So
takeaways are, obviously, goes without saying, planning in the initial instance, but adapting to people having voice conditions.
Well, I mean, you know, as an actor, that's something you learn, and you're encouraged to be, you know, because you need to be able to turn up with a clear idea of what you want to do, but you also need to take direction. So, you know, I've always sort of said you need to lay the groundwork for something, but when you get there, you might find that, you know, actually that doesn't work, or this isn't right, but then you just find something that does. You know? Yeah,
you've got to be prepared to pivot. Okay, great. So, I mean, as far as like, what is there any other elements you want to discuss? Is there anything within kind of storytelling, branding, and just anything that's influenced you to sort of share any other wisdom that you've got from this project?
I think, you know, reference our last episode when we were talking about niches. I think this has helped identify for me a certain niche that I want to, obviously we've now got material to kind of advertise our services with, but it's you know, it's given me a real strong sense of like, this as a team we can really nail these kind of briefs, and I want to do more of it. And
you enjoyed doing the job.
I did.
Well,
but I mean, again, that comes down to the people I'm working with. I mean, I loved producing the stuff we produced, and it was wonderful to be in those spaces and, you know, get those shots, but it's always about the people you're working with. But, you know, so, you know, it's not to say people in that industry can't be unpleasant to deal with. Who knows? But the big takeaway for me has been more of this, please, and you know, and it's given me much more of an idea of where I want to position us as a brand and as a service.
Good. Well, hopefully there'll be a lot more of that for you then.
Fingers crossed, touch wood.
Well, thank you everybody for listening and watching. We'll put a link, or just actually show the video at the end of this, so hold tight. Thanks everybody for listening and watching. Please subscribe. That's normally your bit, so I'm not very good at this. So yeah, please subscribe and download, do whatever those things are that, you know, leave a review. I would love actually to get some questions, some interaction. We are going to start getting some guests on the show at some point soon. So even if it's a case of you'd like to come on the show and have a conversation about your business, the only thing we'd ask really is that you can add some value to the listeners and viewers. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hello, Caledonia, stern and wild, meet nurse for a poetic child. Land of brown heath and shaggy wood, land of the mountain and the flood, land of my sires, what mortal hand can e'er untie the filial band that knits me to thy rugged strand? And he who walks these rugged lands with open heart and willing hands shall find more wealth than kings have known, nature's crown and freedom's throne. Adventure calls from sea to shore in Scotland's heart forevermore.